WCW. The very fate of WCW is in my hands.
20 years ago, World Championship Wrestling was bought out by the World Wrestling Federation. This was followed by their final broadcast of all time, WCW Nitro. Sure, there was an invasion storyline, but WCW really ended with that one final night from Panama City Beach, Florida. The true dates of WCW to me are from September 4th, 1995 to March 26th, 2001. Sure, NWA eventually turned to WCW and they ran WCW Saturday night shows and pay-per-views, but it wasn't until Nitro began that the company really took off and became the #1 wrestling company for a while. The 80s were great for the NWA, but in 1994, Bischoff was promoted from executive producer to senior vice president. It was at this time that he convinced Ted Turner to spend more money on WCW to compete with the WWF and Monday Night Raw. Eventually, WCW Nitro was born. Guaranteed money was thrown at big stars. The New World Order was born with Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, and they began to dominate in the TV ratings. Not only did they have better ratings than the WWF for 83 weeks in a row, but they were ahead of the curve and were producing much better shows. The overall product of WCW was far better than the WWF, and it wasn't until WWF found attitude and WCW made major mistakes that WWF really got ahead in the Monday Night Ratings war. As 1999 began, both shows were constantly getting 5.0 or higher Nielsen ratings, and over 10 million people tuned in to watch Raw and Nitro every week. Wrestling gained newfound popularity as wrestlers made the mainstream media, appearing on magazine covers and appearing in commercials.
Ravioli.
It was fair to say that pro wrestling dominated TV and pop culture in the late 90s. On September 10, 1999, Bischoff was relieved of his management position with WCW by Turner Sports chief Harvey Schiller.
Dr. Schiller, good to see you, sir. We need to talk.
The job title President of WCW was eliminated, and he was replaced with WCW Vice President Strategy Planning Bill Bush. One of Bush's first acts in charge was to hire former WWF writer Vince Russo and colleague Ed Ferrara to head up WCW's creative decision. Say what you will about Russo and his shocking TV writing, and yes, some of it was terrible. However, he did push for a youth movement and put some new faces in the spotlight that were previously held back by the likes of Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash. In 2000, Ted Turner was no longer running the company, which had been purchased by Time Warner in 1996 and merged with AOL in 2000. That year, WCW lost $62 million due to guaranteed contracts of their older performers, plummeting advertised revenues, controversial booking decisions, and pay-per-view buy rates. Jamie Kellner was head of Turner Broadcasting Systems in 2000. He was ultimately the one who made the decision to cancel WCW on the Turner Network in 2001. In January of 2001, Fusient Media Ventures, led by Eric Bischoff, announced they were going to purchase WCW. The deal was contingent on the Turner Network keeping Nitro on TNT on Mondays and Thunder on TBS on Wednesdays. WCW facing major financial wars, they accepted Eric Bischoff's offer to purchase the company. However, the new head of Turner Broadcasting, Jamie Kellner, then canceled all WCW programming from its television networks. With no network on which to air its programming, WCW was little value to Fusient, whose offer depended on being able to continue to air WCW programming on the Turner networks. Bischoff stated that it was absolutely no sense for us to do the deal under those circumstances. With WCW's programming canceled, the company's key assets, tape library, trademarks, and selected contracts were purchased by the WWF in March 2001 for approximately $3.5 million. Chris Jericho went on record to say that if he knew how much it was worth, he would have made an offer. And that's the story of WCW. When Ted Turner handed over the keys to the Turner Network to Jamie Kellner, he saw WCW as a major financial burden. AOL controlled everything of Turner at this time, including WCW. They didn't know what they had. It was a billion-dollar business. Turner knew it, the fans knew it, and seemed everyone knew it but AOL. Because they felt it was a bit lowbrow and wouldn't fit their image, they decided to sell the company. Another nail in the coffin for WCW was the NWO storyline. And no, I'm not even talking about the fact they kept going back to it over and over. In 1996, when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash showed up in WCW, they positioned them as WWF invaders. They were known as the Outsiders and never said they were from WWF. However, they played it off as if they were from the WWF without actually saying it. WWF went on to sue WCW. They claimed that Scott Hall was too close to his WWF character and that they were saying he was from the WWF. The lawsuit dragged out for several years before being settled out of court. And one of the settlement terms was the right for WWF to bid on WCW's properties should they ever go up for liquidation. A settlement that would prove invaluable in the future. So in the end, it was one of the biggest storylines for WCW that was so successful, but that was also the main reason that WCW was ultimately bought out by Vince McMahon. If Eric Bischoff did end up buying WCW, he was going to close it down for a bit and restructure everything before coming back with a big bang. But that never actually happened. Yes, WCW did make many mistakes. However, it was still one of the top tier wrestling promotions in the entire world. They were still getting good ratings, they had original stars, and the brand was beloved by millions of people. When AOL Time Warner merge happened, they only looked at WCW as losing money and how wrestling didn't fit their image. They wanted nothing to do with wrestling. Instead of trying to figure out how they could fix things and make WCW work for them, they sold it off to WWE, who had first bid because of the lawsuit years previous. If you look at where the wrestling world is today, you can see that WCW could and should still be alive. AEW made a long-term deal with TNT and have wrestling on every Wednesday. Turner Broadcasting obviously knows they should have kept wrestling on TNT. Man, WCW wasn't supposed to die.